Here's what's on your feed today. Police say the deadly Tacloban shooting or school shooting that killed 3 students was planned by 2 minor suspects for more than a month. The Sandigan Bayan resets former lawmaker Zaldico's malversation trial to June 30 after the defense asked for more time. The pre-trial for the impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte may stretch until Thursday due to voluminous documents. After Super Typhoon Francisco, Pag-asa is monitoring a new tropical storm that may graze the country's boundary by Friday. And in China, a runaway bull sends pedestrians scrambling after charging through a busy area near a metro station. Good afternoon, I'm Denise Tan. A little over a month before President Marcos delivers his 5th SONA on July 27, the courts are still moving through cases linked to flood control anomalies. Today, the Sandigan Bayan 6th Division resets the hearing of former lawmaker Zaldico and his co-accused to a later date. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos joins us live from the Sandigan Bayan for the details. Arles, ano nga ba yung dahilan o kung bakit nakansela yung hearing today at ano nga ba yung epekto nitong panibagong delay sa kabuuan nitong kaso?
Yes, Denise, hiniling kasi ng kampo ng mga kapwa-akusado ni Zaldico na mga dating opisyal ng DPWH Mimaropa o Region 4B nang magkaroon sila ng mas marami pang oras para silipin at timbangin ang kanilang mga legal na hakbang o proseso na maaring tignan o i-avail matapos ibasura ng Sandigan Bayan 6th Division ang kanilang motion for reconsideration na ibasura yung malversation case laban sa kanila kaugnay ng maanomalyang flood control project sa Nauhan Oriental Mindoro na nakakahalaga ng 289.4 million pesos. Kasama si Ko sa mga akusado ng inaipugante at dating mambabatas na sa kanya raw nga itong sa ilalim sa SunWest Incorporated kung saan hindi lamang siya ang nananatiling at large kundi ang maging dating mga opisyal pa ng SunWest Incorporated. Inaasahan natin, Denise, na wala naman itong magiging adverse effect sa paggulong ng paglilitis laban dito sa mga kapwa-akusado ni Ko at maging kay Ko na sa ngayon ay hindi pa rin nababasahan ng sakdal dahil hindi pa rin nalolocate, pero asahan natin na may reschedule agad ito sa paparating na mga araw.
So wala pang concrete date, Arles, kumbaga ngayon, when the hearing will resume?
So far, ang confirmed date, Denise, for the rescheduled na paglilitis ay sa June 30 at sa July 2 at moving forward ay Tuesdays and Thursdays kung saan sa bahagi na ito ay mga witness na ng defense ang ating maririnig at maghahayag ng kanilang mga posisyon. At actually, yung ipepresenta sana na witness ng defense ngayong araw ay kapwa-akusado din ng mga DPWH officials ng Mimaropa.
Okay, Arles, puntahan naman natin ngayon yung kaso ni former Senator Bong Revilla. Ano na bang update dyan? Meron bang mga bagong testigo o ebidensya na ipipresenta?
Yes, Denise, kanina umaga at hapon nagkaroon ng pagdinig din para sa graft at malversation cases ni dating Senador Bong Revilla. Ngayong araw ay humarap ang 2 testigo kaugnay ng malversation case ni Revilla at mga kapwa-akusado nito ng mga dating opisyal naman ng DPWH Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office sa sina Bryce Hernandez at JP Mendoza. Isa dyan sa mga humirap na prosecution witness ay ang custodian ng COA records na si Eljon Humamil na isinumite sa division na 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan ang mga impormasyon o mga report ng COA kaugnay sa umano'y non-existent o ghost flood control project sa Pandibulacan na nagkakahalaga ng 92.8 million pesos. Humarap din sa witness stand ang dating driver ni dating DPWH Bulacan 1st District Engineer, yung kanilang district engineer mismo na si Henry Alcantara, na si Edric Santiago. Denise, kasama ito sa mga pinangalanan na BGC Boys ni dating Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Ping Lacson na kung saan sinasabi niya na nasa humigit kumulang 10 beses siya na nag-deliver ng pera kay dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo at kabukod pa dyan mga kahon at maleta sa dating mambabata sa si Mitch Cahayon Uy at maging kay Zaldico. Tinanong siya ng mga hukom ng 3rd Division ng Sandigan Bayan kung hindi ba siya nagtaka kung bakit siya nagde-deliver ng kahon-kahon na mga hinihinalang pera sa ilalim ng basement parking. Pero ayon kay Santiago, sumusunod lamang siya kay Alcantara na kanyang amo.
Punta naman tayo dun sa kaso ni Senator Jinggoy Estrada. Ano yung latest development dyan, Arles?
So for Denise, ang latest natin doon ay ang suspension ng Second Division ng Sandigan Bayan kay Estrada for 90 days preventive suspension habang dinidinig nga ang kanyang graft case. No? At inihintay natin doon naman sa planter, Denise, kung magkakaroon din ba ng kapareha sa desisyon na masususpend din siya dahil yung preventive suspension na unang lumabas sa Second Division yun ng Sandigan Bayan for his graft case. Meron pa siyang another graft case at isang plunder case na nasa 5th Division naman ng Sandigan Bayan. So posible na another suspension na naman ang kanyang kaharapin. No? Pero nakatakda na basahan si Estrada para sa kanyang kasong pandarambong o plunder sa paparating na June 30. Kasama syempre ang kanyang ang dating kalihim ng DPWH na si Manuel Bonoan na ngayon ay nasa hospital arrest.
Okay, itong Sandigan Bayan din ba, Arles, have they issued an arrest warrant for Senator Rodante Marcoleta?
Sa ngayon, Denise, ay wala pa tayong impormasyon na nakukumpirma kung nagkaroon na nga ba ng arrest warrant na inisyu laban dito kay Senador Rodante Marcoleta at hinihintay pa natin kung ano na nga ba yung naging tugon ng Office of the Ombudsman matapos ngang hilingin na pasagutin si Marcoleta sa alegasyon nga ng pagtanggap umano ng pera habang siya ay congressman pa. No? So far sa ngayon ay wala pang kumpirmasyon yan, Denise.
Well, thank you for your report. Again, that was mobile journalist Arles De Los Santos reporting live from the Sandigan Bayan. Now, the marking of the evidence in the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte may stretch until Thursday due to the volume of documents being marked. For Article 1 alone, around 4,000 documents are being marked. Lead prosecutor Representative Jervil Luistro says the prosecution asked the defense to allow a joint marking of common documents, but the request was denied. This means both camps are now marking their evidence separately, even for documents that may be similar or identical. The defense, however, says it is only being careful with its own set of documents. Despite the delay, Senate Secretary Renato Bantug says the proceedings remain on track ahead of the trial proper, which will begin by July 6.
Actually, we are hoping to finish at the soonest possible time. Kaya lang, the reality is, voluminous ang documents, most especially in confidential funds.
Ang dami ng dokumento, which is normal for a case such as this. In-expect natin baka hindi tayo matapos ngayong araw, baka umabot hanggang bukas or even Thursday, which is the original schedule naman po of the pre-trial conference.
First Lady Liza Raneta Marcos led the distribution of rice to around 500 families in Tondo, Manila. Each beneficiary received 10 kilos of rice under the Mula sa Puso para sa Pamilya program of the administration. The program aims to provide temporary assistance to low-income families amid the high prices of basic goods. The government targets to distribute a total of 40 kilos of rice to each beneficiary within 1 year. The program was first launched in Quezon City and is expected to reach other local governments in the coming days. Residents of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan held a flash rally against Prime Water Infrastructure Corporation on Tuesday. The protesters held the rally outside the Las Piñas City Hall of Justice together with labor groups. The demonstration followed a Las Piñas Regional Trial Court injunction in favor of Prime Water. The order blocked the San Jose del Monte local government from taking over water operations in the city. Protesters argue that the Las Piñas court has no jurisdiction over the case, saying Prime Water's principal office is no longer located in the area. Former Ateneo de Manila men's basketball head coach Tab Baldwin has finally appeared before the National Bureau of Investigation. Baldwin arrived at the NBI Homicide Division with his legal counsel but declined to issue any statement to the media. This marks his first appearance after failing to respond to the agency's first 3 invitations. His testimony will be compared with statements from other coaching staff, players, and evidence gathered in the case. The NBI says it aims to conclude the investigation this week before issuing any recommendations. More stories when One Newsfeed returns. Stay tuned. You're still watching One News Feed. The Philippine National Police is looking into the possible filing of charges against gun owners in the fatal Tacloban school shooting. And for the latest, we have mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Jazz, what are the latest details on this investigation?
Denise, ayon sa kapanayam natin sa Police Regional Office kanina, ay planado at mahigit isang buwan na raw pinagpaplanuhan ng mga sospek ang pamamaril sa loob ng San Jose National High School sa Tacloban, Leyte. Ayon sa kanilang investigasyon, noong Mayo 1 pa pinagplanuhan ng dalawang sospek ang nangyari nga pamamaril. Yan ay sina alias Nash, 14 anyos, at alias Rod, 15 anyos. Hindi naman kinumpirma o itinanggi ni Brigadier General Jason Capor, Regional Director ng PRO8, ang kumakalat na screenshot ng palitan ng mensahe ng dalawang suspect online. Ayon sa kanya, napakabilis raw ng pagkalat ng mga screenshots na ito. Ngunit nakakabahala at nakakaalarma din daw dahil tila nagbabasa raw ng batas itong mga suspect dahil ayon sa message umano ay makakalaya rin daw ang dalawang bata kapag tumungtong sila ng 21 anyos. At ngunit sinisiguro naman daw na ang lokal na gobyerno na mananagot ang mga ito ng mababase sa batas. Lumabas din sa kanilang investigasyon na ang 40 basyo ng bala na na-recover mula sa pinangyarihan ng pamamaril ay karamihan mula dito sa 14 anyos na si Nash na may hawak nitong 9mm na Glock na pistol. At ayon sa kanilang investigasyon ay ito nga ay mula sa kanyang tiyahin na isang policewoman ng Police Region 8 at may ranggong PSSG o Police Staff Sergeant. Ngayon ito ay nirelieve na sa kanyang duty, siya ay nakailalim na sa restrictive custody at mahaharap sa mga administrative cases. At sa ngayon ay natukoy na rin ang pinagmulan nitong 38 caliber na revolver na ginamit naman ng 15 anyos na si alias Rod na nagmula daw sa isang security guard ng isang security agency sa Cebu. At bukod sa anggulong bullying, Denise, isa na rin sa tinitignang posibleng nag-udyok para sa isang suspect na gawin itong malagim na pamamaril ay ang kanyang pagkalulong sa isang online game na tinatawag na Gorebox na kung saan isa itong marahas at violent at graphic na online game na kung saan gumagamit ng iba't ibang armas upang makasira o makabuo ng iba't ibang bagay at may tina-target din ito ng mga tao at iba-iba. Dito malaya silang makabaril, makagawa gamit ang kanilang imahinasyon. At dahil nga
Jazz?
dito, Denise, pansamantalang pinagbawal ng Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center o CICC ang larong ito. At dahil ito sa napag-alamang ng 14 anyos na suspect at kanila rin daw paikinin. Yes, Denise?
Okay, sige, dahan-dahan lang tayo. Breakdown muna natin. Itong information na sinasabi na 1 month na pinaplano, confirmed na ba yan? And where are they getting that info? Were those taken from the social media posts, from the online chats?
Denise,
o mula ba yan
hindi
sa
pa
testimonya ng
idinetalye
dalawa?
Denise, hindi pa dinetalye ng Eastern Visayas Police itong paano nila na-conclude o saan nila nakuha itong impormasyon na Mayo 1 pa nagsimula itong pagpaplano. Ngunit ayon na rin sa kanilang salaysay, nag-backtrack daw sila ng mga social media post. Kagaya na lamang nung nakita nila na meron nga daw red flags na patuloy daw o nag-share umano ang mga suspect ng mga video ng kanilang nag-shooting sila ng baril at iba't iba pang violent na videos. Ngunit wala pa rin kumpirmasyon kung saan nila nakuha itong Mayo 1 pang plano ng mga suspect na isagawa nga itong pamamaril. Denise?
Pero Jazz, klaro na ba kung paano napasa kamay dun sa dalawang suspects yung mga baril na ginamit nila dun sa insidente? Kasi klaro na kung sino yung nagmamay-ari, but how did they get hold of those firearms?
Denise, sa ngayon wala pang kumpirmasyon kung paano napasa kamay nitong dalawang suspect itong ang mga baril. Ang alam nga lang natin sa ngayon ay yung connection nila doon sa nagmamay-ari ng mga baril. Ngunit yung mismong paano ba ito nakuha ay sa ngayon ay wala pa tayong kumpirmasyon at ngunit patuloy daw itong iniimbestigahan din ng kapulisan. Denise?
Jazz, very quickly, may updated numbers ba tayo sa number of casualties?
Yes, Denise, sa ngayon meron tayong 23 victims, 3 dito ay itong ang nasawi, 2 sa kanila ay babae at habang isa naman ay lalaki. 15 dito ay yung shooting related injuries o sila yung mga direktang natamaan o nasangkot doon sa insidente, habang ang 5 namang natitira ay hindi direktang naapektuhan ng insidente. So sila Denise yung mga tumalon sa bakod, napilayan at yung mga tumakbo due to the panic, doon nila nakuha yung kanilang injuries. Denise.
All right, thank you for that update. Again, that was mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Now, Save the Children Philippines is calling for stronger mental health and psychosocial support for learners following the Tacloban school shooting. In an interview on Morning Matters, Child Protection and Child Rights Governance Portfolio Lead Melanie Llanes said school safety must go beyond physical security and include emotional well-being. She emphasized the need for early intervention to identify and assist children requiring mental health support. Liana also said warning signs should prompt immediate support from teachers and school personnel.
There are many behavioral indications, no? For instance, if the child is already showing signs of aggression, hurting others, or even feeling isolated, isolates himself or herself, or if the child is not performing in school. So that's also already a signal to teachers or to school personnel to really help the child and ask, no, what's happening and to provide support as needed.
The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, has placed the Visayas grid under yellow alert status. This will be in effect from 1 p.m. to 10 in the evening. The NGCP attributed the alert to multiple power plants that remain offline or are operating below normal output. Under a yellow alert, power supply remains sufficient to meet demand, but reserve levels have fallen below the required operating margin. Meantime, commuters using LRT Line 2 should expect shorter operating hours on July 25 as the Light Rail Transit Authority carries out urgent track repairs. The LRTA said train operations will end earlier than usual to give way to the repair and replacement of a rigid frog nose section between V-MAPA and J. Ruiz stations. Under the adjusted schedule, the last train from Recto Station will depart at 8 p.m., while the final trip from Antipolo Station will leave at 7:30 p.m. The LRT said the maintenance work is necessary to ensure safer and more reliable train operations. To assist affected passengers, shuttle vans will be deployed, while the agency will also coordinate with other transport and government agencies to provide additional transport options. Now on to the weather. Typhoon Francisco continues to move over the Philippine Sea after weakening from super typhoon status. It was last spotted 375 kilometers east-northeast of Apari, Cagayan, packing winds of 175 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 215 kph. Francisco is forecast to intensify or maintain its strength until this afternoon and remain far from the country's landmass. It will exit the Philippine area of responsibility on Friday morning. Meanwhile, signal number 1 remains in effect over Batanes as well as the Babuyan Islands and the northeastern portion of mainland Cagayan. Pag-asa is also monitoring another weather disturbance outside the PAR, which has intensified into a tropical storm. As of 4 a.m., it was located 2,680 kilometers east of southeastern Luzon. The system may graze the northeastern boundary of the PAR on Friday, but it is not expected to directly affect the country. Should it enter the PAR, it will be given the local name Gardo. The International Criminal Court's second status conference in the case against former President Rodrigo Duterte is set to get underway. Today's hearing is expected to focus on several pre-trial matters as the court prepares for the full trial scheduled to begin in November. Among the key issues on the agenda, the adoption of a protocol for handling confidential information, deadlines for observations on medical reports prepared by court-appointed experts, the timetable for future status conferences, and the page limit for the prosecution's trial brief. The court is also expected to discuss public statements made by counsel involved in the case. Former President Duterte remains detained in The Hague as the court continues to assess his medical condition ahead of trial. One Newsfeed will be back after the short break. You're still watching One Newsfeed. Iran says it will administer the Strait of Hormuz even as talks continue to end the wider conflict in the Middle East. Iran's chief negotiator Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf says the vital shipping route will not return to its pre-war conditions. He says the strait will be managed by Tehran in line with international law. The statement comes after Iran and the United States agreed to set up communication lines to keep the waterway open. The Strait of Hormuz is a key route for global oil shipments. The talks in Switzerland also covered Lebanon, oil waivers, sanctions relief, and the release of frozen Iranian funds. In entertainment, one of the artists behind the Startista gallery display figures has spoken out following mixed online reactions. Jerry Santos said he was saddened by some of the negative feedback but stressed that they respect constructive criticism. He added that while criticism is welcome, the public should avoid harsh comments that hurt the artists. Figures currently on display include Pops Fernandez, Michael V, Aramina, Efren Bata Reyes, and Heidelin Diaz.
Siyempre, nung una, nalungkot ako para sa mga artist ko. Kasi pinag-ukulan nila ito ng panahon, ng oras, talento, at pagmamahal para masigurado na magandang kalalabasan. Pag constructive, ina-accept naman po namin yan. Kaya naman po natin i-improve lahat. Bigyan lang kami ng chance.
And before we go, a bull on the loose sent pedestrians running after charging through a busy area near a metro station in central China. Dramatic video shows the animal rushing through a street near the entrance of a metro station in Changsha City. The bull knocked down at least 2 pedestrians as people scrambled to get out of its path. Authorities said the animal had escaped from a nearby seafood and aquatic products market before making its way into the area. The injured pedestrians were taken to the hospital for treatment. Local reports said the bull was later captured and slaughtered, while the owner is now discussing compensation with those who were injured. An investigation into the incident is currently ongoing. And that wraps up One Newsfeed, only feed you need. I'm Denise Tan. Good evening.